Hi, this is Scott Jordan. You're watching live here at Cellars of Sonoma in beautiful Railroad Square, Santa Rosa, California. This is TV Tuesday Live, and I'm live here with Ted Elliott from TR Elliott Wines. We're talking about his Questy, which is a blend of two single vineyards. You're using how much new oak are you typically doing in this program?
This has got about 40% new oak. That's a little higher than normal for me. But I felt 2007, and I know I'm right on this, 2007 was a wonderful vintage.
Yeah, you bet it was.
It was wonderful from every standpoint, and that from the farming stand means that the springtime was good. We had a long, even growing season, and the harvest didn't have any rain, that sort of thing. And you can guess pretty much if you got a good growing season like that, that you're going to have a complex wine.
Yeah.
And so it can... usually I would limit my wine exposure to new oak to about 30%. But I took a little bit of a bet on this vintage that it's going to be a very long aged vintage, and I think we can see that here.
Yeah.
This wine has got some long legs on it. It's going to go. So short answer is the French oak barrels are a little bit higher in this vintage.
Nice.
And I think you're going to add the other introduction here is the pomard clone, which will make this a little bit darker.
Yeah, and it certainly did. Now we
get on to this.
We asked a question on the break, which is all about Pinot. Common flavors and aromas in a Pinot Noir are A, cherries, raspberries, earthiness; B, floral, prunes, licorice; C, mango, pineapple; D, green pepper, tomato, olive. Well, we can eliminate a couple of these pretty easy. Mango and pineapple, if we've got that in our Pinot.
Red wine, we got an issue.
We got a real issue. Yeah. If anybody has a guess, on the right-hand side of the video, if you're on our website watching, you can ask a question. Kevin will be our moderator. He'll tell me that I've got a question or an answer. Floral, prunes, licorice. That's a tough one. I mean, you might get a floral, but I don't know. If we're heading toward prunes, I'm in trouble again.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And green pepper, tomato, olive. No, I don't get that. It's got to be A.
Okay, let's hope it's A.
It's A. Cherries, raspberries, earthiness. But earthiness is a characteristic that you notice in Russian River especially.
Right.
One of the things that we're going to do in the tasting room, we're going to flip the menu, and we're going to do a blind tasting. And one of the wines in there will be yours, Ted, in the blind tasting. And we're going to taste Anderson Valley, Russian River, Sonoma Coast, and a single vineyard in Los Caneros.
Perfect.
So
all Pinots?
Yeah, all Pinots.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we'll be able to do is identify those distinct characteristics that are unique to each appellation. And some of it will show up in color. Yeah. Some of it will show up in the nose or earthiness, and I think it'll open up that whole discussion.
Those are the best. I'm partial to Russian River, but those are beautiful appellations.
No,
your customers are going to love them.
They're distinctly different.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I mean, without a doubt, they're very, very different.
And that's what Pinot does the best. I know you got to get to this, but Pinot Noir reflects where it comes from better than almost any grape in the world.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a wonderful opportunity for those of you who can make it down here.
If you took a Syrah or from those regions, there'd be. The similarities would be. It'd be really, really hard.
It's a varietal, but some of the varietals are so big and intense that that's what you get, no matter where they come from. But Pinot is wonderful at reflecting
where it came from.
Yeah, the type of soil, or the coolness and the climate, or the heat. So.
Yeah, and all those areas are very, very different. Now, the third Pinot is Burgonnet. Now, again, the name. What's up with the name?
So let's go back for those of you who were here when we talked about three plumes. Recall that three plumes are the ostrich feathers in that helmet's hat, and I should give some credit to my wife here. I was going to name our third wine Helmet, and that was not a real winner at the home kitchen table. And she looked up this type of helmet, and it's called a Burgonnet. The Burgonnet helmet was used by the cavalry in Burgundy in the 13th century. And it seemed kind of natural for me to choose that name for one of my wines because I, of course, am a fan of all things Burgundy, and that translates into American or New World Pinot Noir. So Burgonnet is the name I choose, and it will always represent Probably it depends on the vintage, but usually it'll be a little bit more masculine, maybe a little bit darker, based on the Pomard clone. And in this case, a warm site. Doesn't mean it's going to always do this, but typically it will walk us from what we started with, which is very aromatic and fruity, to maybe something a little bit beefier.
This is definitely a beefier wine. I mean, right out of the gate, big mouthfeel.
Ooh, yeah,
firm
very different.
tannins,
Yeah.
A bigger nose, that earthiness we talked about.
Right. The earthiness
jumps
comes through
right out of this.
Right. And
again, this is really small production wine. We're talking about a wine where you made, what, a total of 6 barrels. Primarily.
Yeah. Ooh, that's nice.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a wonderful progression.
It was primarily from O'Connell Vineyard, and then 1 barrel from Hallberg, which is the opposite of what you did in the Three Plumes.
Right. So Three Plumes, we went from low, cold, elegant, maybe very red fruit aromas, like a perfume here, and then we went to the top. And by the time we got to the top, we're a little bit stronger, and our flavors more terroir driven, and it's got to do with the fact that the top of the hill, the topsoil is washed away, and the roots are going right into a clay layer, and that really is going to impact what I would call what you're getting out of this wine. Yeah. The terroir is just right there.
Oh, it's just beating you in the head with it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Now, we had earlier this year, we had a few issues in weather early in June, where normally it'd be really rare to see any kind of rain. It'd be kind of misty, if anything.
Right.
We had an issue earlier this year. Now we're getting smoking hot. What have you seen out in the vineyard? Any issues that you're noticing from earlier this year?
Okay, having looked in some of this vineyard this morning, the long protracted spring. I won't predict what this little heat spell is going to do, but let's just. There's a very critical time for these grapes, which happens in May, and this year extended into June because we had rains. This is a time when the flowers of the grapevine pollinate, and they self-pollinate. If there's a long spring where it goes hot, cold, and some rain in between, it's going to make that it's going to make it very uneven.
Okay.
And that's what we see in the vineyard. You can have 3 vines side by side like this, and they can look. The clusters are now vine A could be perfect clusters, vine B half of the clusters are good, the other half must have ripened, came out late May and didn't make it because the rains came. So there's clusters that are half as big over here. And over here, there's what's called shattered, where we look at a cluster and say, oh, what's going on? Half of the grapes are going to be there, and the other half are going to be smaller.
Right.
So this will be a year in some areas where there's an opportunity to say, well, we're going to have a very interesting wine. That's a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Some areas where the weather was just right are not going to feel that influence. But I'd say most of us are going to feel that we have to really be careful with the vines that didn't have even ripening. So the even ripening one, like this one, perfect.
Now, if you get these clusters that don't form properly, you're going to remove those at some point, aren't you?
A couple ways to deal with that. We can remove them right away. I think most farmers are going to leave them on to see. They won't if they don't have enough berries on them. Let's say the average cluster has about, for this discussion, 50 berries.
Okay.
So this guy has 50 berries, perfect. This guy might have 25. You say, well, I think I'll leave that on and take a chance that those 25 berries are going to be good. Over here, 10 berries, I'd be careful. I'd get rid of it because those 10 berries are going to have they're going to get everything from below ground. They're going to be too intense, too unbalanced. So if I was advising somebody, keep it, watch it closely, get rid of it.
Yeah, got it. Now, we had a question from the audience. Dan says, which one of your Pinots has the best aroma? Which wine do you enjoy the most? Okay, so the question is, which wine has the best aroma, and which one do you tend to enjoy the most?
Okay,
and I get that question a lot.
Okay, how do you answer that?
Well, the second question, which one do I like the most? I always lean toward food, because depending on the type of food I was going to have would really determine the type of Pinot that I want. If I'm getting a bigger, richer, meal, I'm probably going to lean here.
Yeah, correct. Right.
If I'm just going to sip
Right.
a glass of wine out by the pool,
Right.
I think I'm all over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then halfway in between. So that's kind of how I, you know.
And if I could follow suit, Scott, that's exactly. We started smelling this wine. I think there's something very seductive about Three Plumes aroma. It's so different. I would say if I were to say, gee, you're going to have fun. Now, women might disagree or men might disagree, but I think for aroma, this is something you could look all over and you won't find this too many different places. So I would say that's the rarest. Doesn't mean I like it the most, but it's the rarest.
Yeah.
To have that shot of aroma.
Right.
And for which I would drink, I have to say Scott is 100% right. I think of these wines as, well.
Don't tell my wife that.
It's only because we're together. No. Well, your wife's 100% right. We both know that our spouses are always right. It's because you and I are together. We'll take
50-50.
We'll take 50-50. But it's the food pairing.
Yeah, and I get it here in the taste room all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we have probably 60 SKUs of wine here, and they always say, "Okay, what is your real favorite?"
Yeah.
And I have to laugh because I really enjoy them in their right circumstance. I really do. Now, there's some that are just sipping wines, and I can really just grab them. I don't care about the meal. Yep. I just enjoy that, and there's many in here like that. So, yeah, you're right at that. It's
well, I thought it would be hard. I wish that this mechanism could get some of the texture and smell out to your audience.
Because they're
they're different enough that I think they'd say, well, it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. Because again, I think I would lean toward a heartier meal. I'm going to go right in here. I think. Yeah, without a doubt. You got to love that.
Great.
Now, coming up this week here at Cellars of Sonoma, those of you in the local Bay Area, we've got live music with Dustin Saylor on Thursday. Starts at 7:30. They go till 10:30 or later if you keep buying wine. And then we have John Pita on Friday with Gary, not Gary, Robert Herrera. He's only been playing here a year. Robert Herrera on Saturday. So you got to love it. 3 nights of live music. I might sneak in a Wednesday with some live music. We're thinking about looking at that. A jazz band has approached me to come in and play, and so we'll see what that looks like. But lots of entertainment, lots of fun things to do. So take advantage of the fact that we're here. Come down and taste through Ted's portfolio. He's got a wonderful group of wines. We're going to take a break, then we'll be right back. Those of you watching live, we're not going anywhere. I am going to ask a question before the break, and this is about German wines. What does the German word Trocken, Trocken, mean when you see it on a wine label? A, it's a dry wine. B, sweet. C, high quality. D, high acid. The word Trocken, Trocken. So we'll answer that on